What's up, guys? In this video, I want to discuss Spidey's top 10 film villains. Ever since Tobey took the role of the web slinger, the Spider-Man films have been iconic. There was a guy before him in the 70s, but yeah. Anyway, so from Green Goblin to Electro to Morbius, here is my top 10 pick of Spidey's villains. Adrian Toombs wasn't always a villain I favored. His costume was lame and his backstory was more so. But when Michael Keaton stepped into the role, I changed my mind. Sporting a flight suit built from stolen Chitauri tech, Vulture can achieve any altitude and maintain stealth while doing so. After Tony Stark took his job of post-battle cleanup away, following the first Avengers film, Toombs took to a life of crime, selling the parts he collected on the black market, with the help of Shocker and the Tinkerer. This was ended when Spider-Man defeated him and sent him to jail, alongside Mac Gargan, who would become the Scorpion, hinting at a possible team-up. Alexisvich was just a common Russian mobster, not really anyone interesting, until he was given a mechanized Rhino suit with built-in rockets. This version of Rhino was mainly from the Ultimate Universe, whereas normally he had a skin-tight costume. I'm kind of upset they scrapped the third Andrew Garfield movie because the Rhino is probably going to be included in that universe's Sinister Six, right alongside Green Goblin and Electro. Otto Octavius got hired by Oscorp to make a breakthrough in fusion energy, but all he ended up doing was killing his wife and fusing artificially intelligent metal arms to his spine. The arms thought for themselves, turning Octavius into a criminal, stealing money to finish his fusion research. He wouldn't complete it though, as Spider-Man helped him to realize his actions, and he died, destroying his life's work to save the city. Flint Marko was a common thief who stole money to help his sick daughter get well again. Unfortunately, one night, Peter's Uncle Ben was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was killed by Marko. Later, after he escaped prison, Marko fell into an experimental fusion machine, fusing his DNA to the sand he stood on. Now, with the ability to shapeshift and disappear without a trace, Sandman yet again began to steal, only to be thwarted by Spidey. He then teamed up with Venom to kill Spider-Man, but then he stopped, realizing he didn't want to be what he had become, and they came to a truce. Dr. Kirk Connors was trying to come up with a formula to regrow his lost arm using reptilian DNA. The serum worked, but also transformed the Doctor into a giant lizard. Now, blinded by his new mind, he attempted to weaponize the serum to turn all of the citizens of New York City into reptiles. Spider-Man stopped him just in time, reversing the effects of the serum. Connors was then locked away in Ravencroft Sanitarium and was visited by a man in black, the same man who seems to have ties with the Sinister Six. Norman Osborn was the head scientist and owner of Oscorp, a multi-billion-dollar chemical research corporation. Norman was in the middle of a breakthrough with a super-soldier serum when the Army pulled their funding after saying they weren't ready for human trials. Enraged, Norman tested the serum on himself, gaining super strength and agility, but also developing a split personality. This personality, called the Goblin, stole a flight suit and glider from Oscorp and killed the men in charge of pulling the funding. After crossing paths with Spider-Man, the Goblin met his maker when a blade from his own glider pierced his stomach. After the death of his father, Harry Osborn continued to perfect the serum his father used, eradicating the side effects and used it on himself, becoming stronger than that of the original Goblin. Harry then took revenge on Peter for killing his father, and they battled over the streets of New York. After suffering amnesia from a blow to the head, Harry sat on the sidelines while new villains emerged, only to regain his memory and decide to put his feud aside to help his best friend save Mary Jane and the rest of the city. Quentin Beck was the mind behind the barf technology Tony Stark used in the beginning of Civil War, except after creating it, Tony fired Beck and took credit for his work. This caused Beck to recruit all of the people Tony had wronged over the years and created a team that, using the barf tech, turned Beck into Mysterio, an otherworldly hero sent to Earth to defeat ancient elemental creatures. Nick Fury and Spider-Man helped Mysterio fight them, but the problem was, they weren't real. Once Peter learned of Beck's illusion, he battled him in London, nearly destroying the entire city. Beck was put down by a stray bullet from one of his own drones, and then was assumed dead. Max Dillon was an electrician for Oscorp who was always overlooked. He designed a power grid for the city with safer, renewable energy that Oscorp stole and took credit for. After falling into a tank of electric eels, Dillon became living energy and was finally starting to get noticed. Once Spider-Man interfered and saved Times Square from him, Electro vowed to take him out for good. They battled in the power grid that Dillon had designed, and Electro was finally defeated once his power limiter was removed and he was overloaded with too much electricity. Eddie Brock was a shady reporter for the Daily Bugle who cheated to get ahead. Upon having a bet with Peter, Brock faked pictures of the black-suited Spider-Man and landed a staff job at the Bugle. It was then that Peter exposed him as a fraud and he lost everything. After Peter separated himself from the alien symbiote, it found Brock and aggressively transformed him into Venom, Spidey's most lethal villain yet. Armed with the knowledge of Spider-Man's true identity and all the same powers, Venom set out to kidnap Mary Jane with the help of Sandman. Together they nearly succeeded, until Spider-Man threw a pumpkin bomb into the symbiote, killing it and Brock both. Well, that was my top 10 Spidey villains. Do you agree? Do you have any other favorites? Well, let's not forget about Carnage, coming soon to Venom 2, and of course, Morbius. Alright guys, I'll see you later.